Yes, brother, you okay?
Yeah, mate, how's it going?
Very good.
You get on it.
Already, mate, I'm already very deep in.
Yes, I've got the wine here.
Oh, nice, nice. I'm ready to, don't worry.
Yeah, I've got to roll mine.
Oh, no problemo. How's your day been then, brother?
All good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I've been teaching English.
Oh, nice. How's that going?
Yeah, good. It's easy. It's easy. Working from home.
Nice, mate, nice.
Yep,
So,
it's the way.
of course, brother. Of course, it's the way. I'll let you roll before we start, though. We'll just let it loose. It's cool. It's cool to see you, though, man. I've not seen you since. Was it when you fought Sean last time I seen you?
Right. Yeah, years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Different lifetime.
A different lifetime, bro. There's many of them in our game.
Yeah, you're right.
Are you training at the moment?
Nah. Well, very little. I've been doing a little bit. I've got one guy I've been giving PTs to. Actually, I've been using the English teaching platform as a way to get PTs. So
Nice.
I did a couple of PTs today.
Nice.
In English, mate. It's in English. So it's...
Very cool. Kick. Very
basics,
good, man.
man. Basics. Jab cross. I think we got up to the jab cross left elbow. That was it.
Not bad. Not bad.
When you're explaining it, I mean, it's hard enough getting them a beginner to understand left and right.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But when they're doing it in a foreign language as well,
you have to just move them. You just got to manipulate them.
I was like, right, show me your left hand. Okay, now show me your right hand.
You're southpaw, aren't you?
Now?
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
Oh, now, yeah. Was you once orthodox?
Was, yeah. 90% of my career, I fought orthodox.
No way. What changed?
I realized I was left-handed. Nah. It's easier.
It is easy. I agree. That's why I like to switch for that same reason.
I just wasn't good enough with my right side. I wanted to be, but it wasn't to be.
I've got good positions in my right side, but I'm better at certain stuff in my right and better at certain stuff in my left. I won't tell you what that is, though, in case we have a spar.
I'm only good at one thing. It doesn't matter.
It's a very good thing, though, brother.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll
I had a good year. Hands up, I had a good year.
You've had a few good years, man.
And what? Don't know about that.
Well, in terms of career, well, I don't know about anything else, but I mean, what would you say was your biggest win in your career? It's an obvious question. Everyone always asks that fucking question, but might as well start with the obvious.
Sure, I suppose sure. Because of the lead up, but in terms of like, so towards the end of my career, I sort of stopped getting excited by winning. One phenomenon that I've noticed is that when you win, your life progresses, but when you lose, it comes to a halt. So you get to a stage where you like accept wins as though that's the way it should be, and then you can progress. And when you lose, it's like everything comes crumbling down. You have to be strong. You have to be resilient to survive like such emotional trauma.
Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee?
Well, I don't know, to be honest. Sure, I suppose at the end it was a good, well, I suppose it was a good way to sign off, but I'm trying to think of the one I was most proud of. I was always more focused on my performance rather than whether I won or lost. So on several occasions I won, but I still knew I wasn't quite there yet, and that, I suppose that's what keeps you wanting more.
I think with the Shaw fight, would you ever do a third? Because I know there's a lot of bad blood between you.
No, I don't.
How was it with the first though? Did you and him have bad blood in the first one too?
Nah, we're just both highly competitive, and but to be fair to him, he actually came into the changing room after the fight, and we shook hands and spoke like humans. Like like people. He came in and said fair play, and I actually told him that it wasn't personal. So even though like it wasn't, none of it was aimed at him as a person, but there was like the back and forth. Actually, I find it really tedious. It's like I really like. So it's much easier in Thailand because the Thais don't engage in that kind of ego-driven. Like in the West, they love it we love it because it sells tickets and you have to promote the fight and it makes money and fighting's a business. But the way that it's structured with the Thais is different. So they're a lot more, they're like a part of it. It's not all about them. I don't know. Culturally, they're just less easy to aggravate. Well, no, that's not true. They're very easy to aggravate, but so I think for that reason they avoid it. They try and avoid it amongst each other. It's very like I don't know how to quantify it, because after the fight it's so informal. It's like they're in the same changing room when they're there's only one changing room. Everyone gets ready and warms up together. It's quite intimidating.
I imagine the life in Thailand is quite intimidating itself, and I imagine the lives of even the people that are famous there are still quite so hard that they have no time for fucking drama, in terms of trying to have a fight, you know what I mean? Like we do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the drama there is like a lot more serious.
Yeah.
People get shot.
No, because that's exactly what I mean. There's no time for fucking quibbling, is there?
Right
It
now,
goes bad, you know what I mean?
exactly.
So, what made you then after the Shaw fight? How come you had how many fights have you had since Shaw?
One. I fought on Yoko against Payet.
That was that a week's notice?
Nah, 2.
2 weeks notice. Hey, still 1 week, mate. 1 week's notice. 2 weeks notice. Not enough notice against.
And it showed. It fucking showed.
Is that? Did you feel that in the fight though?
It was just a disaster. I was like, oh fuck, I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding again.
And again, it's damage again.
You know, for want of a better phrase, blood in the water.
Oh, big shots. Heard Payet's corner shout score then as well. He does want him to pop a body kick up now and again. He's going to get stopped here, I think. I think the doctor has to stop it, to be honest with you.
I think he can't
His
see.
eyes shut. He can't see with that. They're going to stop this fight.
Right. I don't know. It was. It took me a long time to recover from that because I should have won. Everyone always assumes that they're going to win, but I should have won that fight. But fair play to Payet. Came in and did the job. I want to fight him again, just to prove a point. But you know.
How would you think you'd do in the rematch?
Well, what if I had a training camp?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll see if Corona ever fucks off.
How about in the UK? Is there anyone you'd like to fight in the UK?
I don't know. Well, I've been trying to get a fight with Harrison for years. He doesn't want to take it. I've been trying to get. Don't know, mate. Too much to lose. Too risky. Ties or guys that no one's ever heard of. I'm like a domestic name with a pre-existing rivalry, which is too risky in the scene, I think. So it's like a business maneuver that he's using. You know, he says that I'm too shit to fight, but then fight someone that no one's heard of from France or wherever. So I don't know. I don't know where the logic is in that, but I've never avoided anyone.
You take pride in that?
Much to my detriment, actually. I've suffered because of it. I've had a few beatings.
You think, though, you're a better fighter because of it?
I don't know about that. Yeah, better fighter, but I don't know, it affects you. Fighting stays with you. Like, it doesn't just, especially if there's video evidence, it doesn't just disappear. Let's crack open a beer.
Do it, let's do it. So before we go on to like more political topics, just the last question then on the Harrison thing. If you were to fight him, because I understand what you're saying there, and I think it's a fair sort of assessment that in terms of business, in terms of names, your opinion on it is you think you'd do well against him in a fight, but it's just not quite worth it for him. How do you think you'd do in a fight though? How do you think if you two got together? Because personally, I would be quite interested to see that fight.
Well, I worked on a style that, I mean, it was a lot of trial and error, and eventually worked out a style that I reckon is the antithesis to, I mean, really, you have to try and win on points. So that's what my goal would be. If he didn't knock me out, I reckon that I would have it on points.
It does have a mean left hook though, doesn't it? What would be your plan against it? How would you? What would you be operating against?
I have to watch out for that left hook and the sweep. And the sweep. I don't think the low kick would come into it, but I'd have to watch out for the catch and dump and the 3-4 piece boxing combo with the elbow on the end. That's about it. But he's good. He's fast and strong, like, but he's old, and I'm a southpaw. So as far as stylistically the matchup goes, I reckon I've got the power and the resilience to last it. Yeah.
To politics. Cultural Marxism. Let's go.
Well, I hear a lot of people banging on about this at the minute, so I did a little bit of research into it. I know that it comes from Jordan Peterson. So I looked a bit into it, and it's essentially the same rhetoric that the Nazis were using. So but it's like rebranded cultural Bolshevism. So the Germans used it as a way to blame the Jews for everything. The degradation of society, of the media, of relationships, of the family, of the economy, of the culture. All of that was blamed on Jewish infiltration, intellectual infiltration into the culture, and how it was affecting the great German nation. And I feel like that's been rebranded by the right into cultural Marxism, and that they're pushing it as a way of blaming the left for everything. So homos are eroding society, and trannies are eroding society. I mean, maybe it's like traditional reactionary positions that these people like espouse, usually for money, actually, is what I find. These conservative or right-wing outlets are generally like the better funded ones, reach the biggest audiences, and have, I mean, their arguments, they use a lot of rhetorical techniques, like straw manning and steel manning, so they've got a lot of tactics that they employ when they're debating with people.
Wait for one sec. For people that don't know, would you just explain those two, straw manning and steel manning, just so the understanding can follow us?
Well, it's like, it's arguing based on assumptions. Basically, if you straw man someone, you basically tell them what their opinions are. You're telling them what they believe. You're being presumptuous about how they see the world. Like,
you make a very weak figure of their argument. It has to be. You literally make it out of straw.
Exactly, and there's a lot of that goes on. It's like assumptions and generalizations, and I see a lot of this happening where like the left is to blame for everything. Like, but what people very often fail to identify is that it's not just one side. You can't just stand on one side and point the finger at the other and say that it's all them. Like, the reality is that, I mean, for example, in America, or even in the UK, if you look at like the so-called left, the Labour, like Labour were still in power during the financial crash and they launched a war in Iraq. So these aren't particularly left-wing opinions. Like the spectrum, I'd say the spectrum is skewed to the right, and most media outlets, like even the ones that are accused of liberal bias, like CNN or like the BBC or whatever. I mean, like when I was younger, I've always grown up thinking that these were the propaganda outlets for the government. And so now to find out that there are people to the right of them accusing them of being liberal, to me it just seems laughable, because it's the whole establishment that we need to be tackling, really, because the reality is that the identity politics that we face, where it's like, I'm a black conservative or I'm a Jewish conservative, or whatever these people espouse themselves as being, what it really comes down to is class. So it doesn't matter, like, if you're rich and black, you've got more in common with a rich white person than you have with anyone than a poor black person. Like, we've been segregated into these tribes. So it's like the left blames the right blames the left. Like, but in my opinion,
Let me just stop you for 1 second, because I wanted to just pick up on a point there before we continue. It's a very interesting one, because you mentioned class as sort of a bigger dichotomy in terms of how it splits people and how people are playing identity politics now.
right.
But how class might be the thing which actually, if you're speaking about personable experience, that probably might be what draws people closer together, is the class in which they're born. And
Of course.
so in that sense, and this is probably a big one, but we should get into it. The movement Black Lives Matter at the moment is consistently pushing the argument that people of colour are quite ardently oppressed in Britain.
Right.
And I was just wondering if you think, or would you say, that race or class plays a bigger part in a person's oppression?
Well, I reckon it's made it easier so identity politics have made it easier after the Occupy Wall Street.
We are called losers, but the true losers are down there on Wall Street. They were bailed out by billions of our money. We are called socialists.
We are called socialists.
But here there already is socialism for the rich. They say we don't respect private property. But in the 2008 financial crashdown, more hard-earned private property was destroyed than if all of us here were to be destroying it night and day for weeks.
The movement to deal with the inequalities that are apparent in Western societies and the rest of the world at large, it's been reduced to partisan politics and identity politics, which makes it easier for people to be fractured into these smaller and smaller groups that face off against one another. So you've got Black Trans Lives Matter, and like it's fractured, and it makes people easier to be set against one another. And it's not just the establishments in our countries which are conducting this information warfare. Fake news is basically propaganda. Social media is rife with fake news, troll robots. Like it's also foreign governments put in.
Is that from both the right and the left wing?
Yeah, well, I mean, both sides of the spectrum. It's really not it doesn't really do justice to describing what's really happening. I think there's a misconception on the right that all rich people are left-wing liberals, and they're telling working class people how they should live, that they should accept immigrants. But there are rich right-wingers in government who equally benefit from immigration or illegal or mass immigration, because it forces the average working wage down. And it's not just, all of these problems aren't, like, you can't point at one side of the political spectrum and blame them for everything that's going wrong with society. And meanwhile, like, so it's like you take this partisan stance where you like blame the left, or you're on the left and you're like, it's the patriarchy or whatever. Like, you can't.
It's very easy on both sides, isn't it?
Aye, it's like a crisis of meaning that people have. It's like, since with the like the weakening of religion and the back steps that religion has been taken culturally, people have got this crisis of meaning in their lives. So they're looking for an identity, right? So they're attaching that to political. So what you'll see in America is what was once the religious what was once the religious right are now the Trumpists. So like they're being converted from far right religious conservative reactionaries to nationalists. So now we have this new wave.
Dostoevsky made that point in many of his books, that the underpinning of religion was such a foundation of society. It truly was, and has been for thousands of years, such an underpinning that
exactly
to just rip it away as it has been. Even though the people that ripped it away, I was a huge fan of and became even fucking friends with some of them. And people like Hitchens really inspired me to learn so much.
Me too.
At the same time, the ripping, I think you bang on there, mate. And I think they missed the philosophical consequence of quenching what people used to have as. It's the same as what Orwell said, which is interesting because people are also against the monarchy right now and have been for years, actually. But it's precisely that. He said that even though he was a massive critic of the monarchy in general, he did say it's better to have a benign sort of leader who doesn't actually have any power, who is just basically a figurehead, than it is to have what comes next, you know what I mean?
A constitutional monarchy. Well, we can, to move the focus to Thailand, there's the Thai king is like a playboy. Now I once overheard a conversation on a plane between a Thai woman and her neighbor about how she was a lawyer and basically freedom of speech was limited. You're not allowed to say anything bad against the royal family or question the fact that this playboy has inherited the throne. And I imagine that these days, since the military coup, it's even to question the government. Now we live in societies that are free enough that we can express ourselves. We can express our discontent and our criticisms of everyone. But I think we've reached a point where there's like an information overload just now, where so political movements are being led by memes on social media. Like these.
That's bang on, mate. It literally is. The information is being passed so quickly back and forth now. What generally would take 5 years to bring into fruition, it now gets dbrought in and then dies in a week.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't Putin work for the KGB?
In the KGB that Putin joined, working with people. There's a phrase, he's used it. He's used it a couple times when people, all the way back to 1999 and 2000, when people ask him, so what good is it to be a KGB? I mean, what in your past career, in any way, helps you become the leader of this country this way? And he said, well, I learned how to work with people. And
So they've got some psyops shit going on, because they're funding both sides of the spectrum, so far left and like anti and pro-Trump demonstrations, for example.
That's called pragmatism, brother. Whatever works on both ends. The world is extreme right now.
Classic. Fund both sides of the war.
Fuck me. Exactly.
But their goal is to sow instability within the society. So they don't care who triumphs or whatever side is more effective or whatever. What they care about is creating this instability. And I think that the more fractured we become politically, the more things are going to devolve. And I think we're actually witnessing that in America just now, with the civil unrest and the crackdowns that we've seen. And it's really it's like a microcosm for what's happening. Well, I mean, I hope it doesn't. Well, I sort of hope it does spread in a way, because if it spreads to Russia and China, maybe it'll be a good thing.